This episode is sponsored in part by PTZ Optics. Why hire a camera operator when the control is in your hands? Visit ptzoptics.com for more information. And by NewTek, makers of the TriCaster TC1. Stun your viewers, not your accountant. Visit newtek.com for more information.
Hey guys, it's Friday, so it's time for the Retro Buzz. We're going to have some good times tonight. Joining me, as always, we have Mr. Douglas Smith. Welcome.
Salutations.
It's just
Pleasure
you
to
and
be here
I.
as always.
It's just you and I tonight.
It feels weird getting introduced first as opposed to the contractual obligation of allow Glenn to speak 5 minutes at the beginning of every episode, let him plug what he wants to plug, let him have his spotlight, and then at the end have my 2 minutes to say, hey, what's up?
I know, it's weird too because we usually have a full panel. Retro Babes usually here. We got like 4 people. And
Yep, all by ourselves.
So sorry guys, you're kind of stuck with us tonight, and we're gonna do our best to bring you guys some good arcade and gaming news. And I think we got a decent amount of stuff to talk about tonight. I think, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's stuff to talk about. There's happenings, if you will.
So Adam wants to know. He's like, "Sup, COOLTOY, Tech Buzz. Where is Glenn?" And I'm gonna pull that up here. And I believe he had something going on at work, right? He had to reset up a building or something.
I mean, there's what he told us, and there's what's happening in real life. It just really depends on what you want to believe. He was, sitting in our private chat talking about how he drank too much at a work thing the other day, and I think, if anything, Glenn's probably in one of those HR meetings about drinking too much in work functions. So I'm just kidding. Yeah, he had a work function, a normal thing that just, he had to work today. He's got big stuff in the works for his job, so he's a man that's typically on call a lot of times, and duty calls you answer, especially if you don't want to, be homeless.
And Mike in the chat room says, interesting. Glenn and the Retro Babe always miss shows at the same night. Very interesting. Well,
deductive reasoning says they may be in cahoots with one another.
And deductive reasoning says that Glenn pays the bill for her because Doug and I do not.
Yeah, I can't afford mail order brides. I struggle to afford my normal bride.
So we have no control over that. He does all the programming for a Retro Babe. nor do we want. We don't have the time for that kind of stuff. But I had some interesting pickups this week. As you guys know, and Doug knows, I always throw it in the chat room because I always say sorry, Glenn, because he always seems to think that I get these amazing deals, which now I look at it and I do.
I mean, I'm not so much of the physical game collector or the hardware console collector anymore. I've kind of stepped away just because I have too many collecting passions. But even when I do go out and about and I see these things in stores and flea markets and garage sales, that type of thing, I don't ever see anything remotely near a value like you're picking up on a regular basis. Not even like every once in a blue moon. It's just like, hey, today's Thursday, guess what I found? And then you show us something that is just, pretty rare and in great condition, and you tell us the price, and then we both get sick to our stomachs.
So this is something that I have wanted for my game room probably my whole life when it first came out, but I realized it was overpriced. It was ridiculous. Did you ever want this growing up?
Who didn't want this? First of all, I mean, you see these commercials, Saturday morning. It looks like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
I vividly remember putting this on a Christmas list, 4 years consecutively. I remember specifically our local Toys R Us had a giant games section and where the consoles and everything were, and it was just this pristine glass case with clear acrylic shelves everything looked like the Fortress of Solitude because it was all just like clear plastic and white and shiny and everything. And I remember they had a Power Glove on a rotation spinning like little kiosk that just sat there and just, rotated 360 degrees. And I remember just putting my, chocolate covered fingers on this clear case and just smashing my face up against it. Just like, oh, this thing looks amazing. And then years later, I went over to a friend's house that was spoiled and he had it and a couple other things. And I played it for the first time. And I was like, wow, this is the biggest disappointment of my life. I'm so glad my parents never got me this.
Yes, Adam, it is the Power Glove. It's so
bad.
I did manage to pick it up. I was watching Facebook Marketplace, and I picked it up tonight. You guys can see it here. And at first, I was kind of like, because you see this part of it, Doug, and you're like, wow, this thing is awesome. And then you flip it over, and it's like, this has got to be the cheapest made piece of...
Yeah, I mean, like, they didn't want you to see the bottom half in the advertisements. They always showed you just nothing but the top half. But yeah, it's literally a gardening glove and a Velcro strap on the bottom of it.
Okay, so when this first came out, just for everybody's education here, this thing was $75. Now, back in 1982, $75 was the equivalent of, say, what, $175 in...
Pretty close. I'd track that, yeah.
2019, 2020, right?
Yeah.
So this was, I mean, could you see paying almost $200 for this today? Knowing what you know about it.
Knowing what I know about it, no. I mean, like I said, it's an abysmal piece of equipment. It looks awesome. It has an amazing history to it, but as far as its functionality, oh my God, it's terrible.
Well, so when I saw this, the guy goes, I messaged him on Facebook. He was asking, mind you, everybody, $50 he wanted for this. We got
corrected. So $75 in 1982 is worth $214.97 today. So there's your update from Mr. Urban World. So
okay. So when I did my research earlier, I came up with those numbers. This $75 was the equivalent to $155.30 in 2019. So that's what I came up with.
Yeah. And it came out in 89, not 82.
That was my fault. So thank you for that correction. So that was the mess up there. But either way, almost $200. It's still ridiculously expensive for what it is. So obviously, if you go look around, the value of it loose, like I have it, it did come with the manual, didn't have the box, but it has all the attachments and everything. Loose, it's worth almost $100 in price charting. So with the box, it's worth about $400. So I'm going to see if I could still locate a box for it, even if I have to pay like $50 for a box. But I paid $50 for it, and the guy was just trying to get rid of it. He's got some other stuff that I'm probably going to buy from him. He has like Marvel Superheroes for PS1, which goes for about $60. That and Resident Evil Director's Cut, and a few other games that value. I'd say it's about $300 to $400 worth of PS1 games that he's going to sell for $125.
Hey, sweet. There you go.
So he sold me this
deal.
He said, well, he goes, hey, just so you know, I don't have the game anymore. My Nintendo's on the blink. I can't test it. I don't know if this thing works. And I was like, for $50, this would just still look cool in the game room.
I'm assuming he's talking about like the built-in game, the Super Glove Ball, that where you literally just like did this and threw a ball.
Well, he didn't have...
That was the game. That was like the pack-in game that came with the Power Glove, and it was...
And I have to get that game. He didn't have that. He didn't have that. So you can play this with other games, obviously, but he's like, my Nintendo just blinks. The red light blinks. So the cartridge piece that connects to the cartridge inside is probably on the fritz. Yeah. No big deal.
72-pin adapter. Yeah, he just needs a little work on that.
So I was like, I'll take a chance. I plugged it in when I got home. My son was down here. He's like, wow, that thing's cool. And I'm like, I know. We thought that 30 years ago, too. So we're sitting there, and I plugged it in. All the lights came on. I'm like, well, that's a good sign. And then there was some kind of racing game that I happened to go in on the multi-cart that I had. So it did work on the multi-cart. And I'm like, it works. This is pretty cool. So it was a good steal for, what, $50?
So it actually fit you? Because I know they made like a large and a small, and a lot of times people don't know what they're getting because, the tag on it just,
That's a good question, because this doesn't have a tag on it.
Yeah,
But
most of the time the indicator where it says large or small is gone by this
yeah,
this day and age.
so if I put it on,
Yeah, that looks like it fits.
yeah. So the only thing
And
that I
I
think that
assume it doesn't smell.
it doesn't smell now. That's yeah. They wore a glove underneath it, and they actually gave me the glove that they wore underneath it.
That's weird.
It's actually really clean underneath it, so you can see here
Yeah.
it fits.
Yeah,
I mean, so
there
I
you
don't know
go.
what size it is. It's just the Velcro here's a little long, so I might,
That's for somebody with like those Popeye forearms.
yeah, I don't have Popeye forums, so, but I thought it was. I'll probably never play it, never.
Yeah. No, it's just a piece of gaming history. Like I said,
Yes.
I have one in storage. I'm not going to use it, but it's one of those things. It's a piece of history. It's iconic. I've got a Macho Man Randy Savage jacket where he's wearing the Power Glove. I mean, it's just a piece of gaming history.
Yeah.
It's very synonymous with, Nintendo history in general. And I mean, for God's sakes, anybody that watched the Wizard movie, I mean, you definitely wanted the Power Glove after watching that movie growing up.
That I was just going to say, the Wizard is where I saw it, and I'm like, this is awesome. And they want to know, did I play Rad Racer? No, it was some kind of sprint car game. I think it was like a B title or a C title that was, the one of the filler racing games. It wasn't even, like RC Pro Am or anything like that. I literally hit it. It must have began with an A because it was either that or numbers, because it was the first game on that multi-cart, which has like over 1,000 Nintendo games, even though they only made 936. So I don't know. It could be a Japanese. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. So I literally was just trying to figure it out. But still,
hey,
$50.
It works. It works.
$50.
And it looks clean and it fits. I mean, that's a deal. $50.
So there was another pickup that I got this week, and
yeah, you can't just be patient and settle with your $50 Power Glove pickup. You gotta just add more to the kitty.
Yeah. So what I did was I messaged these guys and I said, I got a really good deal here, and I wanted to know. I said, I think it's a steal, but I ended up picking up a Jaguar, which will be here on Tuesday, complete in box. And when I say it's complete in box, not only is it complete in box, the games that they gave me and the additional controller are complete in box, and it has all of the paperwork, including the poster with it, which I don't have the picture here, but it has a poster of it all in pristine condition. And one of my buddies was like, it looks like they played it twice and stuck it back in the box and said, okay, we don't want this.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. Like I said, the box looks to be in good shape. It has, not a crazy amount of wear and tear on it, which is pretty impressive considering it comes in a black box. Obviously, black is going to scratch and show scuffs and all that stuff twice as much as anything else. But I mean, it looks in great condition. I have zero experience with the Jaguar. To me, growing up, this was always one of those things with like the Panasonic 3DO. It was just something I always saw in gaming magazines and advertisements, but like I never saw it at the store. When I went to Blockbuster or any of those video rental stores, they sure as hell did not have a Atari Jaguar game section or a 3DO section or anything like that. It was your bread and butter Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega, and then when like PlayStation, Nintendo 64 came out, that was fine. But all these other kind of what I would consider obscure, smaller scale systems, they were just completely out of my reach and out of my realm of visibility. So I'll be curious to know what you think of it. Obviously, 20, 30 years too late, but either way.
Well, and that's something a lot of people have asked me to do. I put it out there, not as like clickbait or link bait, but I was like, hey, I've never had experience with this. If you want like a real reaction video of me turning it on for the first time and playing it for the first time ever, I'll gladly do a video. I mean, it's not going to be like super produced, but it's something that somebody like myself who've never played this, but like you, Doug, I didn't grow up with a lot of money. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so it was something where, like, yeah, every kid always wanted every video game system, but now having the opportunity to have it 30 years later, I'm kind of curious because I did order a few games that I've found. And I'm going to continue ordering some for it because, I think Atari in itself, and Glenn's not here, and he'll be like, yes, but Atari in itself is synonymous for video games. I mean, that's where, essentially where it started. for like major consoles. So
Yeah,
I'm
and I
kind of
mean,
like,
this is unfortunately the other end of that, storybook. This is the closed chapter end of Atari. Essentially,
yes,
was the Jaguar. So they went out, unfortunately, without a bang. It went out with a whimper.
yeah,
It's not like the Dreamcast where everyone's like, "Oh my God, the Dreamcast! We were too good. We didn't appreciate the Dreamcast." Nobody's saying that about the Jaguar. Not saying it's a terrible system, but from my experience, I've only ever heard people talk about. I think it's like Aliens. There's an Aliens game on there that's supposedly pretty good,
Alien
and
versus
that's all
Predator.
I.
Yeah,
There we go. Yeah,
yeah,
Alien versus Predator. Not the like side-scrolling beat 'em up that people think
right.
of like Arcade1Up, but
Yeah.
the Alien versus Predator on the Atari Jaguar supposedly is a great game. And then after that, I know next to nothing about it. I know it's got a kind of interesting controller, to say the least.
Well, and it goes back to a little bit of the ColecoVision in television, where you slide a like a graphic over top of the buttons, and some of those buttons aren't used every game.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see. I see a lot of guys in the chat room that are saying it's not all that. And there's a super chat, and we're going to get to that here in a second. But now there was a few people that were like, "Well, so how much did you pay for it?" So after researching it, in the box with the games, normally that would cost probably, the way I figured it was about $850 for everything that the way it was in the condition that it was in. I paid $500 for everything.
Yeah,
So I think
I'd
that was
say
a
you
good deal.
did all right. The
Yeah.
last time I saw a Jaguar at a gaming convention for sale in the box, they were asking $650 for it. And
that's
my
without a games, right?
knowledge, I think yeah, and that was just like the system, the controller, maybe one pack-in game, but it was less than the bundle you got. So
that's why I was like, well, that's a steal. I mean, I thought, well, for collecting, probably only play it for a little bit, and then it'll get put back in the, it'll sit on the shelf just to, again, for collecting. But we have a super chat here. Let me scroll. Unless you, from Paul, he says, when are we going to see the Retro Buzz crew travel to Richie Knuckles Arcade for Kong Off 25? I don't know. Is he having it this year, or is it still out due to COVID? I don't even know if he has opened back up. Do you know?
I don't know. I'd have to kind of try to get in touch and find out if it's still on or if dates have changed. The COVID pandemic era that we're still under has made so many things still questionable as far as events. So I don't know what his part of the world or his abilities or capabilities are for holding an in-person event. But if he's going to do one, and if it's something I can get off work for, absolutely, I'd love to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see here, Mark, he's saying that Tempest and Defender 2000. I was looking at those.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
I forgot they had a Tempest game on there.
That was the first thing Glenn told me. He's like, you need to buy that one. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll look for. I've been finding some of the games, but again, when I'm collecting these old, hard to find systems, I want to buy them and spend the extra money and buy the box too. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm one of those that like to keep the box if I can.
The box is part of the history.
The history,
the artwork. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at, and so I had brought up because and again, this is no dig by any means to anybody that's made a video about this, but it was something I picked up on. I made this mention, and Glenn's not here to defend himself, so we can talk about this. I made mention that this was my holy grail system. This is a system that I have been looking for since I started collecting retro games, 3 or 4 years ago. I know it's not a long time, but that and Neo Geo in my book, my personal book, is a holy grail system, because you just can't go to a retro store and find one of those systems. Like, they're really hard to find.
No, it's not very common. No,
it's not.
Especially in box, yeah.
Right. And so he was saying, well, it's not a holy grail system. So the argument went back and forth where that's not what he would define as a holy grail system. And I'm curious for the chat room, and even you, Doug, what do you consider a holy grail system? Because I'm curious myself, because is it being used too loosely, or is there such a thing?
I mean, that's one of those things. It's not going to be easy to define. It's going to be completely different to every single person. Like, I'll use me as an example. If we're talking holy grail video game systems, what you had, the Atari Jaguar, it's pretty rare, kind of obscure, kind of pricey. I personally don't have that attachment to it, so it's not holy grail for me. My holy grail is actually not expensive, not really obscure. It's just something I haven't found in good enough condition to buy. It's the NFL Sports Sega Genesis combo with Joe Montana in his Chiefs uniform on the box. It comes with a stadium seat cushion and everything. Like it's not super rare. It's not super expensive. I'm a Chiefs fan. Grew up loving Joe Montana, of course. So that's something I want to add to my collection. Also, I'm a Sega fanboy, but if you look in terms of like rarity and value, that wouldn't meet the criteria for most people to consider Holy Grail. So you got to really just boil it down to a lot of times personal preferences, personal wants, needs. Like my personal toy Holy Grail is not the most expensive toy in the world. It's not some, $20,000 Star Wars Kenner figure, but it's something that I personally grew up loving, owning, having, cherishing, playing with for years. And then it, got away from me. So I had to rebuy it. So, rebuying that piece of my childhood. And that's kind of what I consider Holy Grails when we're talking about video games, toys, anything like that. If you have a personal connection to it, that, in my opinion, supersedes and surpasses any rarity or value talk whatsoever.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't, and I want to be clear with everybody. I'm not talking about super expensive items either. Like it has to be the most expensive. Doug, I'll even go as far as saying the TurboGrafx 16 for me was a holy grail because I always wanted it as a kid. Go ahead.
We got Adam Montgomery in the chat says, for me, it's Turbo Express, but it's different for every
person. There you go.
So there's another, yeah.
So I think that, again, that's what I'm getting at. To me, Doug, I think, you and I didn't grow up, we didn't have the TurboGrafx 16, and we finally got it as we were older, whether it's the mini or it's the real TurboGrafx 16. It was like, that was our grail. Like, we really wanted that. We never had it. Now we've got it finally. It's kind of like, yes, I don't know. I guess that's the way I look at it. I could be completely off base here. And again, I don't expect there to be a right or wrong answer, but it just made me think about this a little bit. Because when I mentioned it to Glenn goes, "Oh, you're going to talk about Holy Grail? Okay, I'll send you a list." So that was his response to it.
Yeah. I imagine Glenn's list is pretty lengthy and not to sound mean or anything, but kind of archaic because a lot of his tastes are older. So I mean, a lot of those things would be almost like discovering the Holy Grail because they're at this point 40, almost maybe 50 years, depending on how deep down the rabbit hole he wants to go for some of these things.
So I agree with Mike. Mike, he said the correct answer to this topic is the Holy Grail is the Neo Geo AES. I am with you. That's that's my bucket list, Grail list, whatever you want to call it. Like that, I am looking for right now. Turbo Express is another one. And then I pretty much have all the consoles from the Atari 2600 on forward to the latest console, which is the PS5. Which some might say that's like a holy grail.
Thanos over here collecting all the Infinity Stones with the consoles and everything. You're just like,
I have fun with that.
Add another one to the glove, literally.
Yeah, and I just need to get the Xbox Series X. So there's there's probably about 4 or 5 consoles left, and I'm talking mainstream consoles. I'm not talking about like the computer. Like the Colecos and the Vectrex.
That becomes its own like tree branch.
Yeah. I'm talking about regular
basic
consoles.
Home consoles. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. And if you're watching this after the fact, let Glenn know. Leave your grail in the comments below on YouTube. We'd love to hear it. Like there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious to see what everybody's grail, if you will, what you guys consider that. So I know we got some news here, so I'm gonna transition here to that, and Doug can get us kicked off here. All right. What did we?
So
what did
I
we
had
do?
something pop in my head last second when we were talking about Grails.
Okay.
And this is the dumbest thing ever. So the Sega Game Gear, you remember had a TV tuner accessory?
Yes.
For whatever reason, I thought it would be hilarious to watch the Super Bowl this year on a Sega Game Gear with the TV tuner.
You know what though? They're hard to find.
They are hard to find.
I've been looking for one. I have 2 Game Gears.
Everybody goes out and buys a brand new TV, you know, Super Bowl Sunday, and they have their friends over. And they're like, check it out. I got this 80-inch flat screen TV. Come watch the Super Bowl. I'm going to invite my friends over. Like, you guys are ready to watch the game? Like, oh, we're going to watch it in the home theater? And I go, yeah, we're going to watch it in the home theater. And then they come in, and they're going to see the Game Gear sitting there on a table with the TV tuner antenna up. And it's like, crowd around. We got some fuzzy picture Super Bowl football game to watch.
But you know what, Doug? When we were growing up, we didn't have our own TVs in our bedroom. So to have a TV tuner, that was awesome.
Man, I was about to say, if you had the TV tuner or any sort of mini TV that was, even if it was black and white and the boxy and had if you had your own personal TV in your room as a kid growing up in the 80s or whatever, man, you felt like Richie Rich.
That's right.
You felt special.
I didn't have a TV, and I had my parents' old CRT. I didn't have one, I think, until I was 12 or 13. My brother and I shared a room, so they gave it to us when the picture got all screwed up so we could sit there and play video games on it. So in the beginning, we didn't know what the real colors were of Super Mario Brothers. And it was so it was borderline black and white for us. So it was like when
you didn't realize Mario and Luigi were 2 separate people.
Right. We really didn't. And well, we could tell there was a little bit differentiating colors, but my grandmother got us a new CRT TV, and it was like, oh my gosh, Mario's red. Like we didn't. It looks like the box.
Vibrant.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Super Mario 2 was like very colorful. And it was weird. So little nostalgia for you guys there.
Yeah. I'm just laughing. We had a comment in the chat from Garrett R. It says, how old are you guys?
I'm 42. So I'm pretty I'm not as old as Glenn, but I'm older. So, but yeah, we had some interesting times. Now my son and my daughter, they have their own TVs in the room, so it's like to them that's normal. So I'm like, okay. So do we have? Yeah, we do have some stuff this week, Doug. We had some Arcade1Up news, right?
Mm-hmm. So Arcade1Up, they had their Killer Instinct pre-order this week, and I mean, in terms of typical Arcade1Up pre-orders, I guess it went okay. It still has the same nonsensical hiccups that they always do. Like specifically, we're looking at this sizzle reel that's been on their website since they announced this cabinet. But if you like pay attention to the sizzle reel, there's 2 different prototypes machines shown in this sizzle reel. So I mean, it goes back to that long-standing tradition of Arcade1Up having conflicting information and people really never knowing what they're buying until it shows up at their doorstep. Like, I get it. This is a sizzle reel supposed to drill up anticipation and, you know, get people to buy a machine. But like the day the machine is up for pre-order, I should hope and expect that the company would have like all the T's crossed, the I's dotted, everything lined up so you know exactly what you're getting. But I mean, the retailer listings went up. They had conflicting information about what games were on the machine. That's pretty typical. Like I said, almost every time there's a new machine release or pre-order, something like that, there always seems to be a hiccup. $699 is the retail price. I know everybody's, you know, clamoring for this machine, so I know a lot of people are excited about it. I've seen some people in the chat today say they were buying it. Seen a lot of people say they weren't buying it, say it was too rich for their blood, so to speak. Another thing that was kind of irritating to me, and just especially with this new price point, we got $700 plus tax. So obviously we're past the economic aspect. Anything over $500 is a luxury item. So we're $700 plus tax for this Killer Instinct machine. As of today, the only way you can see it physically playing and working and demonstrating is if you go look on John D's Twitter and look up a couple of video clips that he's posted today. That's insane to me that a company, like I said, opens pre-orders, hasn't shown the machine in its true form factor, its current form factor, showing it working and playing and all that stuff while they're accepting and taking your money. In fact, the only way you can see and verify that you feel comfortable that this machine's going to do and say and play and, you know, perform the way you want it to is if you're uber nerd guy and you're stalking Arcade1Up stuff and you're stalking John D's Twitter. That's the only way you know that, because it's not on their, you know, it's not on their official pages anywhere. It's not on the Arcade1Up Killer Instinct page. Like I said, the Arcade1Up Killer Instinct page has nothing but that early mock-up prototype pictures and that sizzle reel that has 2 different prototype machines that conflict 100% with each other entirely. So
now
it is what it is.
Now, I seen right before we went live here, Mr. Kong from Kongs R Us. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, he went over and visited John D.
He went over to John D and
played it.
He had a monitor sitting on a table with I didn't get to watch the whole video, but he
I mean, what they essentially did, they had a working PCB in the control deck, and they rigged it up into a Frankenstein X-Men cabinet that they had and took it apart so they could have a screen. So like, I get it. It works and it appears to work fine. I'm great with that. The machine's not for me either way, so I don't care. My point of contention is you should be showing that to the consumers in all official avenues if you're expecting them to plop $700 hard-earned money to buy your product. They shouldn't have to guess and have question marks the day they're purchasing a product or a machine from you about quality, about what it looks like, about the final design, about the games included. None of that should be in question anymore. Everything should be answered. Everything should be concise. Everything should be spelled out, showed and demonstrated, pictures, video, you name it. There should be no guessing. And still, years and years into this Arcade1Up thing, we're still guessing each and every time they have a product rollout.
Well, and I've seen some of the comments here in the chat room. Linux Lover was saying Battletoads are a good IP any way you slice it. I would agree. I just think $750 is a lot of money for an Arcade1Up arcade. Now, I know we've been down this road and people complaining. I get it. I've been complaining about it. So I'm going to do what we tell other people to do. I'm just not going to buy it. I'm going to wait. If it comes down to like $300, I'm not going to complain about it.
I could be that toxic YouTuber that goes on and says, you know, I'm not buying Arcade1Up Killer Instinct. Here's 10 reasons why, and make a video, and it would get thousands of views, and it would just be an asinine waste of everybody's time. But people would watch it, and toxicity would spread throughout the internet because that's the way the world works.
But I'm a
level-headed individual. If I don't want something, I don't like something,
then you don't buy it.
I'm not gonna buy it.
But I would agree with you. Like, they had plenty of time to get this out to. And not saying we needed a review unit or any of that. They could have got it out to some of these other reviewers and got some real-world, live, hands-on experience of what the consumer is going to get.
Even at the bare minimum, like update your product photos. Right. You have those early mock-up photos that show the control deck being sunk down, having the lips where everybody hated. They've updated that to where it's smooth across the board. It's not recessed. You don't have that edge gate or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They have a physical prototype that shows and replicates that. It's not like it would take them 3 years to update those photos because, let's be real, they're just digital renders on a Photoshop background that they got from, iStock photo or whatever that they've been using for the last year. Just update your pictures. Let the consumers know exactly what they're getting. Don't have any question marks about game listings, especially if you're expecting anybody to spend $700+ for your product. Just sure it up, man.
Well, and Doug, let's be fair. The biggest question we all had, not just us here on the panel, but we've all had even in the chat room, was, is it going to stand up to the hype of the speed that it needs to be at on this PCB? A lot of guys that are familiar with Killer Instinct know that it has to be powerful in order to keep up with everything.
I mean, I always fully expect it would and could and should because they went to Code Mystics. Code Mystic has a fantastic track record. Yeah. And looking at those early little sample clips on Twitter from John D, game looks fine, looks like it's running fine. I don't know if it turns out to be crap. Either way, I'm not interested in this cabinet regardless of the price. For whatever reason, Killer Instinct just never was on my radar. I know it has a large cult following, but when this came out in the arcades and everybody was hawing about it, I was still jamming on Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and having a hell of a time. So I never gave it the time of the day until I was in my 20s. Now I'm just like, I still rather play Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. That's just my personal.
But see, I'm the opposite. I do like Killer Instinct, and we talked about that last week. Mm-hmm. But I don't like it to the point where I'm going to drop $750, even though Battletoads is on it. Now, let me ask you though, if they came out with an all Battletoads, and I know you made one, but an all Battletoads arcade for $750, whether it's 3 games, 4 games, whatever, or even 1 game, would you buy it?
No, not if it's all Battletoads. Like for $700, you have to give me something unique at this point. You have to give me either like a god level tier game like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, or something like Daytona Racing with a legit racing wheel and pedals that don't feel like they're going to break underneath my foot. An online play where you can play multiple people. That I'm willing to shell out $700 for something like that. Like I said, I don't have any personal connection to Killer Instinct, so it's not going to get me to shell out that type of money. I'm just going to, speak with my wallet. If they can come out with something that truly impresses me and speaks to me and doesn't look like I'm going to have to spend another $150 to like get it to be up to snuff to my wants and needs and quality taste, then maybe I'll spend money. But as of right now, this new price structure, and I get it, there's so many moving parts and pieces in the world that are causing things to go up in cost. I get that. I'm just saying, me personally, I'm just going to be sitting on the benches until something changes.
Well, and that's why I brought it up. Because you are a big Battletoads fan, and
yes,
just like me, Star Wars, I'm not going to go out and buy the sit-down I have it, but I wouldn't buy that for $750, Star Wars or not. That, to me, that's just, I think we're just at that point where it's just asinine, that those prices. I get it, but I'm just not going to do it. So what I will say, and we can move on to the next topic here, is that I will say I pity those that are just starting out in the Arcade1Up world, wanting to build their own home arcade with our Arcade1Up, because they're paying now double what we paid for ours a year and a half, 2 years ago, and your guys are going to be shelling out some big dollars to build your arcade unless you find some clearance.
It's true. I mean, the cost of like entry-level Arcade1Up ownership has changed considerably. But then again, to Arcade1Up's defense as well, so is their products. So like what our Street Fighter Wave 1 machine looks like compared to the other newer iterations of the Street Fighter machines that have come out, it's a night and day change as far as certain things. Upgrades, so to speak, online capabilities, more games, better aesthetics, things like that may, be a little more valuable to some people, because beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. But
sure,
yeah, it's definitely if you're one of those people, even if you were an early adopter and you have like 15 cabinets at this point, for the price of 2 of these new cabinets, you could have got 5 of the old cabinets. So I mean, it's a whole new world, period, plain and simple.
Yeah, and I really don't care about the Wi-Fi in it. I'll be honest. I don't do a lot with the Wi-Fi on the NBA Jam. I don't do a lot on the ACK games online, and I know a lot of guys do. So I think, reaching both markets, I think it's interesting, but it's just not for me, and that's fine. That's the beauty of it. But something else launched today in the mail.
Yeah, we got the Game & Watch from Nintendo. So this is the second one. Last year we got the 35th anniversary Mario one. Yeah, so that was cool. I enjoyed it. It's I'm a sucker for nostalgia, small little form factors. It's the tried and true system. Hey, take something you already know and love, shrink it down into a small form factor, and resell it to you. It's what Nintendo's been great about doing. But I've been a huge Zelda fanboy for my entire life. It's one of the games I grew up playing, just nonstop. I play through it every single year. So I was super excited when mine showed up in the mail a couple hours before we started the show today. So I've already went through and I'm on Dungeon 7 of the original Legend of Zelda. So I'm almost done my first playthrough on the Legend of Zelda. But it also comes with Zelda 2, which I'll gladly take flack for it, but I absolutely hate that game. Just going from the original Legend of Zelda to Zelda 2, it was just such a
it was disappointing
shock to me because it was so different. But it also has Link's Awakening, which is a fantastic freaking game that I spent an entire summer beating on my Game Boy. So I've got lots of love and nostalgia for this, and it's under $50. You can find it at every retailer. Get while the getting's good, because it's a great little device.
Well, let me ask you, I didn't pre-order this like I did with the Mario, because everybody and everywhere had it, right? And I was like, yeah, I kind of learned, because I went out and I could have got it. I pre-ordered the Mario from GameStop, and then I was able to go to Best Buy and get it the same day. Has anybody gone to the store yet and seen if there is one in the store? Because online say it's sold out everywhere.
So I ordered this back in June, got it from Best Buy because that was like the only retailer that had it at the time. So pre-ordered it, Best Buy, showed up today. Went to Walmart to go buy some dog food today, and in the Nintendo Switch case where they have where the Nintendo Switch would be, you know, under lock and key.
Yeah.
They had a stack of probably 20 of them at my local Walmart. So
Okay. So maybe I'll be doing that after the show, going and get the Zelda.
I don't think you'll have an issue finding one in the, you know, next week or so.
Yeah.
Closer to Christmas, will that change? Probably, but as of right now, the getting seems to be good.
And what did you pay? $35 for it, or was it 50?
No, it was like 47,
almost $50.
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I forget
$50 with tax. Yeah.
Because I have the Super Mario Brothers one. I actually got it for my son too. So I would like to get Zelda because, like you said, Link's Awakening. I played it through on the Switch, 100% complete. Love that game.
And it also has the Japanese versions of the games too, which is kind of
nice.
neat. Yeah, so that was a nice little bonus feature. And there's little hidden bonus gems / cheat modes in here. So like if you want to start the game out with like completely full heart containers, you can do that. I'm not going to spoil it for you how to do that, but it's all over the internet. Very easy button combination. So cool little things like that allow you to speed run through the game a little easier if you want to.
So not sold out on Best Buy, says Kevrat. That's good. So I'm gonna have to check that out. I might be able to pick it up.
You have no excuse now. You got your $50 Power Glove. Get yourself a $50 Game & Watch for Zelda.
Rexer said you went to get dog food, which is keyword for The Simpsons, but I think you've kind of said the same thing about The Simpsons. Is just like
same thing. So like
I'm not gonna buy it.
I have the Simpsons arcade game on 40 different freaking emulators in my house. I can play it on damn near any device in my house. I've got Simpsons Bowling on my pinball machine because it's got the trackball, so I can play that. Do I want the Arcade1Up Simpsons machine? Yes, specifically because Simpsons Bowling is actually now, you know, properly emulated with all the voices and everything, something that's not currently out there on MAME right now. Am I going to pay $500 for it? No, I will not. Specifically, I've got, you know, issue with the way they laid out that control panel, and they got Homer's buttons above the joystick, and it looks like it's just going to give me carpal tunnel. Things like that just make me say, $500, my personal choice, not going to spend that money. Will it inevitably get clearanced and discount 6-7 months from now when something else comes new? Yes, it will. So I'll just play the patient waiting game. I don't have to be that guy on YouTube that has to get that review video out the first. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm not here for attention. I'm here for enjoyment and to connect with people that also have like-minded interests.
That's why we do the show, because we have fun with it.
Yeah, plain and simple. That's why I do the show. That's why I do YouTube. Plain and simple. I'm not trying to be internet famous, not trying to get attention, because honestly, I freaking hate attention. It's the reason why I don't.
He's not lying, because
at the end of the show, that's why you're like, hey, plug your stuff. And I'm like, I'm just going to sip on my drink and stare at the wall.
No, he's not lying, because I proposed, since Glenn wasn't going to be here, I was like, oh, well, let's just do an interview show where I'll interview you, and so people can know COOLTOY, and maybe he'll answer the pinball question. And he's just like, no, that's not productive. I'm not going to, that's self-serving. I'm not going to do that. So, so we kind of, so I was like, all right, let's roll with this then, with what we're doing. He got a bunch of things together, but, I think you're right. I would love to have it. One of the big things with it though is the 4 players. It takes up so much room.
It takes up. So it basically commits another. Spot. Completely,
2 spots.
You got like half a cabinet on one side, half cabinet on another. Put it together, you're essentially giving up an entire footprint for a 3/4 scale arcade machine, whether it be iArcade, Legends.
I've already said Jam's going if I get it, and I'm with you. I'm not going to get it until they clearance it out. Get it down to $300, and then we'll talk. But for right now, I want it. It's a game I've wanted since I played it in the arcade, just like WrestleFest. But I'm not paying that kind of money. Period.
Yeah.
So today also marked a very interesting day. It was the launch of a certain console that could be deemed the Holy Grail. Yes.
I mean, for some people, because it's a year later and they're still trying to get one. But today is the first year anniversary of the PlayStation 5 release. Now, I specifically was able to pre-order one from Target last year. It showed up, I want to say, maybe 4 or 5 days later than, so I wasn't, the first kid on the block with the PlayStation 5, which is fine. It eventually showed up. But here we are a year later. You still can't go into a store and buy one. The moment they go on sale, they get wiped out within, 15 seconds by either feverish fans or automated bots, depends on who you ask, depends on your mindset of the day. But it's PlayStation's most, their own terms. Their CEO said it was their biggest console launch in history. Now, they didn't really expand upon what that means, whether it means financial units sold or anything like that. But there's not good news on the horizon for people that still have yet to find a PlayStation 5 and are wanting to get one for the holiday season or even at the beginning of 2022. Yeah, so there you go. Biggest console launch in PlayStation history. Still short supply. Sony expects to produce fewer units than expected in 2022 due to component shortages. That's just been like, if 2021 had like a theme or a slogan, it's component shortages or shipping issues. I mean, just that in a nutshell sums up 2021. Like 2020 was COVID. 2021 is like the after effects of COVID and everything about that. So I'll be the first to admit, I've had that PlayStation 5 for a year now. I think I only have 3 games for it, and I haven't turned it on in probably 60 days because of that. I mean, a year later, we still haven't had very impressive, and same thing for Xbox, if you ask me. I've got both the new Xbox and the new PlayStation 5. Neither one of them have like really impressed me with their game lineups. It's just,
that's what I wanted to spend some time talking about.
Nothing too crazy, yeah.
Read that last part there about the most played games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the most played PlayStation 5 games, you got Fortnite, which is essentially a free game. You got Call of Duty Cold War, FIFA 21, NBA 2K21, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which most of those were all launch titles.
Right. And my theory behind this is why Call of Duty and Fortnite are the number one played is, like you said, it's free. You can download it. Because there's no freaking games for it.
No. And like
I've been playing PlayStation 4 games on it.
Yeah, one of the launch games I got was the Miles Morales Spider-Man. It was good, but I beat it in under like 8 hours, and it really just felt like an expansion pack to the previous Spider-Man game that did come out. So like, I was sitting there with this impressive piece of hardware and technology. Like, I love the controller, what it does, and all the things it does for the PlayStation 5 with like the adaptive triggers and everything. It's super impressive, but there's just not an expansive game library. Like, I've bought probably 20 Switch games in the last year, where I've bought 3 PlayStation 5 games. And I mean, that just really goes to show it's not, you don't have to have all the teraflops and the most fancy technology in the world. You just got to make games that people want to play, plain and simple. Well,
let me ask you, and chat room, answer this as well. It seems to be like, what is it? Every 7 years there is a hardware update, right? That these companies are releasing new consoles. My question is the cycles, right? My question is, due to the pandemic, the chip shortage, are we going to see a longer wait now, maybe 10 years on a PS5 or Xbox Series X before a new console's released, due to the fact that the majority of people that want a PS5 or an Xbox Series X can't get one right now, and it looks that way, Doug, based on your report, for the next foreseeable future, maybe the next year, maybe year and a half, right?
I mean, it's crazy to me to think like a year into a console's launch, it is still to where you can't walk into a store and even see remnants of it. Like, I've never seen one in a store. I've never heard of anyone seeing one in a store. My only time I know of anybody that's ever bought one is if they were just playing that lightning trigger game online, and they were able to get it, before it got wiped out by bots. So like, to me, I think that's reasonable. I mean, they can't even meet current demand. Why would they move on to something else? I know they have to, essentially, because they don't want to be stagnant and stale. They want to, show the new fancy whatever that's coming down the pipeline. But like, at this stage, these consoles get closer and closer to becoming essentially what a PC is today, a gaming computer. So like, that line between hardware home console and just full out gaming rig computer is getting thinner and thinner, to where essentially I think you're essentially going to be seeing PlayStation computers at this point.
And you guys wonder why I went out and bought a Power Glove. There's no, there is shortages on it, but at least you expect that for something almost 30-some years old. That it remains to be seen what's going to happen with that. But I thought that was really interesting when he put that in there. That I thought, oh, that's really cool. We need to talk about that. Something else that we need to talk about has to do with a certain group of mutants, right?
Oh man, yeah. So this, so if you're not aware, and meaning you haven't turned on social media today because there's so much ad stuff pushed out because of this. It's Disney Plus Day. It's the anniversary of Disney Plus, but they announced a bunch of Marvel stuff, a couple of things about Star Wars, but one of the main things was they're bringing back the beloved, and I say that with 100%. Yeah, 100% confidence, because I don't know anybody that didn't like this. The most beloved animated comic book series of all time, the 1992 X-Men, 92 to 97 X-Men animated TV series. It was on Fox for most people. They're basically bringing back the voice actors, the ones that are around still. Unfortunately, a few have passed and went elsewhere, and there'll be some new voice actors. But we're getting X-Men 97 is what it's being dubbed. It's essentially a continuation of the animated X-Men series, picking up essentially where they left off in 1997. I cannot tell you how stoked I am. Like, I immediately can hear that intro theme song in my head, that guitar riff. Like, when I die, I want to put this out there right now in case I want to put this out on the internet so you guys can hold my family accountable, because I fully expect them to push back on this. When I die, I don't want this normal funeral. What I want is I want a dodgeball tournament in my honor. Winner gets all my stuff, my games, whatever. You can have it all. Don't care. Otherwise, the wife will sell it, and she doesn't know what to do with it. So, winner of the dodgeball tournament gets all my possessions. And when they're lowering me into the ground or burning me on a funeral pyre, I don't care. Do whatever you want. I'm dead. I don't really have a preference on that point. Somebody better be playing that freaking introduction song for the X-Men animated series, because that's how I want to go out. Sorry, not sorry, because I'm 100% not joking. Make it happen.
And Linux Lover, he says that they need to make an updated Power Glove. I think so. I am looking forward to playing with this with Punch Out. I'm not gonna lie. That's like the game I want to play this with. I really do. Is that corny or what?
No, I mean, that's the ideal game that should go with that Power Glove for sure.
Yeah. So I'm just going through some chat here, guys. If I missed something that you want to put back out there, go ahead and put it back in there. We're not going to yell at you for saying it a second time. I might have missed it going through. You should have a Viking funeral, Doug, says Conjuras.
Yeah, put me on that funeral pyre. Just load up the logs, throw me on there, or put me in the boat, cast me out into the sea, the harbor, wherever. I don't care. Like I said, I'm dead. As long as I get played out with that.
So let's round up the show here with it's not really a final report. We did talk a little bit about the Simpsons, Doug, but let's talk about the complainers, right? We can't go through a show without that, right?
Let's just call this the holiday, yearly, annual PSA, whatever it is. I mean, we've said this literally year after year after year, and I get tired of it. So this was posted on Twitter. I got tagged in it. This was from Elite Gaming News handle. And I just want to use this as a prime example because this pops up year after year, complaint after complaint. And I get it. It's frustrating. But like I said, there's years of history at this point that showcase how this is going to happen. And it happens every single time. And at this point, if you expect anything else to happen, the fault's on you. But somebody, was bringing up the point that, hey, they pre-ordered the Simpsons Arcade1Up cabinet through Walmart. As soon as it went up, for pre-orders, hey, they were Johnny on the spot. They're getting those pre-orders in. They were expecting, hey, I'll be one of the first people with this machine. Lo and behold, they get that dreaded email off to the left there from Walmart saying, hey, sorry, due to product shortage issues, whatever, we're not going to have this product until after the beginning of the year. So, January 4th right there, 2022. Disappointing because they were expecting it, mid-November. Lo and behold, they see a bunch of Facebook group people posting pictures of their local Walmarts sitting on the shelf. Hey, there's a Simpsons Arcade1Up cabinet. So I get it. That's frustrating to pre-order and think we're going to get something and then it get pushed back until January. And then you see somebody down the road from me talking about how they just walked in the store to get it. But here's the thing. That has happened every single time with these Arcade1Up releases. If you pre-order a cabinet, you should never expect that you're going to be the first person to get the machine. All that pre-order means is that you're going to get that machine eventually. If you want to be the first person to get that machine, it's always best just to play that waiting game and wait till these things show up in stores, because 99% of the time they show up in a store, retail, box, brick and mortar, before the pre-orders have ever been shipped.
Doug has spoken.
Just I mean, and I'll say it again next year when something else comes out and people get upset. Like I said, I get it. It's frustrating. I 100% understand the emotion behind it. I'm just saying, 2 years in, nothing has changed. The definition of insanity is, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It's not going to be different. Nothing is changing.
To be fair, though, also, it's not just with Arcade1Up. It's with other products as well. I could say this as a guy that used to do a lot with tech. I have the new iPhone every year, and I stopped pre-ordering from Apple because guys could walk into the store and buy an iPhone on launch day if they waited in line for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. So what I started doing is getting up at 5 a.m., standing in line until 8, 9 o'clock, going in and getting the iPhone that I wanted for me, my wife, and be out the door. Meanwhile, people are still waiting for theirs to show up in the mail. Like you said, it only guarantees that you secured one. If they made 1,000 units, you're getting one of them, regardless of when you're going to get it. So that's how you treat a pre-order anymore. That's how I treat a pre-order anymore. I've kind of gotten over that,
I like that. It's not exclusive to Arcade1Up or anybody. It's
that's
just
right.
how it happened. Like, I pay a $50 membership a year to Hasbro, to where I get free shipping and I get perks to be able to pre-order things first from them or whatever. Every single time I buy a new action figure from Hasbro, I'll put it on pre-order, and it's like, hey, like, I'll use one specific. I got a Power Rangers action figure that's showing that it'll show up April 22nd from Hasbro Pulse for my pre-order that I pay $50 a year to get free shipping and all these pre-order perks for. I saw it in store today.
Yep.
But Hasbro's not going to ship me my pre-order until April. So that's the thing. Like,
yep.
It means nothing. A pre-order is basically just yes, we will give you this eventually.
Listen,
you have peace of mind that we have taken your money and we will give you product eventually. But it is not like a movie release that, hey, on Friday, this date at this magic hour, this product will magically be available to you. That's not how it works.
This happened with Ninja Turtles for Arcade1Up. I had it a full 2.5 weeks before any of the pre-order guys were even supposed to get it.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, there were many people that were they were
mad, and I'm like, I just literally walked into my Walmart and bought it. And I want to bring this up. Mark Whitman, we forgot about this too. Is the Steam Deck is also delayed in, I think, till February, right?
Yeah, and I 100% fully expected.
We expected that.
I think I even mentioned on the show when I talked about putting my pre-order in for it. I was like, there's no way this is going to be in time for Christmas with all the component shortages. It's just not going to happen. So when I got that email, I was like, okay, that's fine. You know what? I fully expect in February to get another email that says it's pushed and delayed even further. That's fine. I had no expectation that thing was going to magically be available for the holiday season. I just didn't think that was going to happen. And I still don't think it's going to happen for February. But yeah, that was big news. The Steam Deck, I'm sorry if you were under the impression you were going to get it for Christmas. Not going to happen.
And I know there's a lot of talk about CES coming up here in January. I used to go to the Consumer Electronics Show back when I was doing a lot with tech. I still foresee that show going completely digital this year. I don't even foresee it going on, only because
they need to make up their mind, because I need to book my hotel one way or the other.
Well, I know it's probably going to be last minute. I know what they did with NAB. They moved it, which is the broadcasting convention. They moved it from April to October, and then they canceled it literally 3 weeks before it was supposed to happen. And now IBC, again, guys, in the broadcast world, IBC is held in Amsterdam over in the Netherlands. That usually happens coming up here in a few short weeks. They're going into partial lockdown again. So there's a potential of that being shut down. So we're only literally 2 months away from CES. My prediction on this, and don't get your hopes up for these companies releasing new products because they can't get the products out that they have.
It's not that they don't want to sell you something.
Yeah, that's right.
They physically can't get it, or they have to pay astronomical shipping freight.
That's
which
right.
Doesn't make any sense. It's like that $700 machine's now a $900 machine.
I don't foresee a CES in person. I'm just going to be completely transparent. I'll be surprised if we have NAB 2022. I'd hope we do because I want to go out in April. But it's a far stretch right now. It really is, and that's just where the world is right now. Cases keep going up, going down. Not getting political here or getting into pandemic stuff, but I mean, watch the news. Cases are going up, going down, going up, going down. It's hard to have a trade show wearing a mask, yelling over all kinds of noise, trying to communicate, standing 6 feet away from people. It's just better to do it digital. So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So I don't foresee any new things being announced to where you can get them in anytime soon, Doug. I think anything's going to come. It's going to be later in the year. That's just my 2 cents anyways. We got to wrap it up, my man.
We shall see. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We got to wrap it up, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Douglas Smith, youtube.com/COOLTOY. You can go check him out as always. And guys, we want to let you know the next 2 weeks, there will be no Retro Buzz. I have some commitments next week. I have a dinner that I have to attend to for the church, so I will not be around. I know Glenn is talking about doing the old guy show. I know he said something to me. He's going to kill me for saying that, but that's what I'm going to say anyways. So look for that at this time next week, and the week after that is Thanksgiving week. Doug, you're out of town. I've got some things going on, family and whatnot. So go be with your families. Don't sit and watch these internet shows. They'll be there when you come back. So 2 weeks from now, we'll be back. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy Thanksgiving. I know we will. I'm going to eat and eat and eat. So I'm going to do my best to have some videos of the Jaguar. So watch for that if a lot of you guys wanted that to see that. So really appreciate it, guys. And until next time, keep it buzzing.